If you're a man over 60, what I'm about to share may sound strange or even a little uncomfortable, but I invite you to lean in. Because, as a board certified surgeon who has spent over 2 decades specializing in male sexual health, from microvascular repairs to penile prosthetics to complex reconstructive procedures, I've seen what textbooks don't show. I've worked with real men, real bodies, and real challenges, not theories, not data points, tissue, blood flow, function, and failure. And more often than not, the issue men come to me about, whether it's erectile dysfunction, loss of sensation, or changes in penis size, didn't actually begin in the bedroom. It began in the kitchen. There's one specific food, common in almost every senior's diet in America, that I believe is silently, steadily contributing to the very thing most men fear: erectile dysfunction, shrinking penile length, loss of sensitivity, pelvic inflammation, hormonal imbalance, and worst of all, an emotional disconnection from one's own masculinity. I'm not here to sell you hype or push quick fixes. This isn't about magic pills or performance promises. This is about biology. This is about circulation, nerve health, inflammation, and the quiet choices that slowly shape your sexual vitality over time. If you're still with me, I want to walk you through 7 essential truths every man over 60 needs to know, not just about his penis, but about his health, his hormones, his daily habits, and yes, even his dinner plate. Because when you understand the full picture, you don't just survive aging, you reclaim your power within it. 1. Why older men are losing function so quietly. Let me be blunt, because sugarcoating this won't help you. Erectile problems aren't just about age. They're about circulation, nerve health, and the smooth muscle tissue that makes erections possible. And here's the hard truth most men never hear. Those systems, they're incredibly fragile, especially as you age. In my 2 decades as a surgeon specializing in male sexual health, I've had hundreds of men come to me blaming hormones or age for their declining function. They believed they needed testosterone injections or ED pills. But when we dug deeper, when we looked at the actual tissue, the blood flow, the vascular integrity, the real issue became painfully clear. They were inflamed. Their arteries were narrowed. Their pelvic blood vessels were stiff and sluggish. Their erectile tissue was starved of oxygen and nutrient-rich blood. And their penis, the organ most dependent on rapid circulation, was simply being cut off at the source. This didn't happen overnight. And it didn't happen because they got older. It happened because of decades of slow, silent damage, the kind that starts on your plate. You see, most older men think sexual decline is just part of aging. But in reality, it's the body waving a red flag, a warning sign of systemic inflammation that's affecting not just your penis, but your brain, heart, and energy levels too. And the most overlooked cause of that inflammation? Food. Specifically, one broad category of foods that causes inflammation in nearly every artery in the body, including the microscopic ones that feed the erectile tissue. These foods disrupt nitric oxide production, which helps you get and stay hard, damage endothelial function, and reduce the elasticity of smooth muscle, making strong, lasting erections harder to achieve. So no, this isn't just about testosterone. This is about oxygen, blood flow, and what's quietly strangling both from the inside out. And if you've never heard this before, don't blame yourself. Most men haven't. Most doctors don't talk about it. But once you see the connection, it's impossible to unsee. So what's the food category doing the most damage to your blood flow and your erections without you even realizing it? 2. The one food category that's wrecking your blood flow. Here's what I tell every man who walks into my clinic. If you want better erections, you have to think like a heart patient. Why? Because the very same foods that clog your heart's arteries also clog your penis, but they show up there first. Most men don't realize this, but the arteries that supply blood to the penis are tiny, about 1/10 the size of the arteries that feed your heart. That means even the slightest narrowing, stiffness, or inflammation in those vessels can have a major impact on your ability to get and maintain an erection. So if you're eating foods that damage your cardiovascular system, your penis will feel the consequences long before your doctor ever sees a red flag on your cholesterol test or EKG. Here's what I'm talking about: processed pastries and white bread, seed oils like soybean, corn, or canola, common in store-bought dressings and snacks, fried foods that create oxidative stress, sugar-laden sauces, condiments, and beverages, boxed snacks like chips, crackers, cookies, and muffins. These ultra-processed foods don't just increase belly fat or cholesterol. They trigger a deeper, more dangerous issue: endothelial inflammation. The endothelium is the thin lining inside your blood vessels that controls blood flow. It produces nitric oxide, a gas your body relies on to dilate blood vessels and allow for strong erections. But when you eat these foods, especially in combination, your endothelium becomes damaged, nitric oxide production drops, and blood flow to your penis suffers. I've seen it firsthand in surgery: tissue so starved of oxygen it couldn't heal, smooth muscle so compromised it couldn't expand. And men in their 50s and 60s who believed their issue was just low testosterone, when in fact their diet had quietly sabotaged their sexual health for decades. So here's a truth most men never hear until it's too late. The moment you eat these foods, your penis notices even if you don't. And once that blood flow slows down, once oxygen delivery falters, what actually happens inside the erectile tissue itself? 3. What happens inside your penis when you eat badly? Let's zoom in. When you eat a meal high in added sugars, refined carbohydrates, and inflammatory seed oils, you're not just satisfying a craving, you're triggering a silent biological cascade that affects your sexual function in ways most men never realize. Here's what happens internally, almost every time. Your blood sugar spikes. Your insulin levels surge to compensate. This triggers inflammation throughout your bloodstream. The lining of your arteries, the endothelium, begins to swell and stiffen. Your blood vessels constrict and narrow, and your production of nitric oxide, the essential molecule that relaxes and opens the blood vessels in your penis, plummets. It sounds technical, but the result is very simple: less blood flow to the penis. And without healthy blood flow, you don't just struggle to get hard, you begin to lose the very structure that makes erections possible. This isn't just about performance. This becomes a structural issue. In surgery, I've seen it with my own eyes. Fibrotic tissue, where once supple erectile muscle has turned rigid and brittle. Loss of volume, where once full, responsive penile tissue has actually shrunk due to poor nourishment. Reduced elasticity, making it difficult for the penis to fully expand even when aroused. And here's the kicker: most of these men were not medically ill. They weren't diabetic. They weren't even overweight. They were simply eating the way they always had: a standard diet filled with hidden sugars, processed foods, and industrial oils. Over time, the daily impact of those meals compounded, until one day, they noticed their erections weren't what they used to be, or their penis looked smaller, or they stopped waking up with morning wood. And by then, the damage had already begun. But there's one particular ingredient that's even more insidious than most. It doesn't just damage blood vessels, it actually shrinks penile tissue from the inside out. It's in your ketchup, your cereal, your sauces, and yes, even your healthy granola bars. So what is this silent penis shrinker? 4. The silent penis shrinker: high fructose corn syrup. Let's name names. Among all the ingredients silently sabotaging male sexual health, high fructose corn syrup, HFCS, is one of the most destructive and most overlooked. It's not just in soda. It hides in foods you'd never expect: ketchup and barbecue sauce, fruit-flavored yogurts and sports drinks, bottled salad dressings and marinades, healthy breads and granola bars, even low-fat snacks marketed to seniors. Why is HFCS such a problem? Because it does more than spike blood sugar. It goes deeper, disrupting hormone levels, fueling fat storage, and accelerating vascular decline. Research shows that high fructose corn syrup suppresses testosterone production, increases visceral belly fat, which produces estrogen and lowers male hormones, promotes insulin resistance, damaging circulation, triggers inflammation in the endothelium, the lining of your blood vessels. But the most alarming effect? It strips your penis of its elasticity. Why does that matter? Because erections aren't just about blood flow, they're about expansion. Your penile tissue needs to stretch, fill, and hold that blood. That process depends on smooth muscle and connective tissue that can flex under pressure. When HFCS inflames your system and degrades that elasticity, here's what you may start to notice: erections that don't last as long, a lack of fullness, your penis feels smaller or less firm, diminished sensitivity or response, a subtle emotional frustration, disconnected, even if you can't explain why. And no, this isn't a libido problem. It's not about drive, desire, or aging. This is a fuel problem. Your tissue simply can't perform when it's being fed a chemical that robs it of its core function. The good news? Your body wants to heal. Your blood vessels can recover. Your elasticity can begin to return, but only if you remove the trigger and feed it something better. Because here's what most men don't realize: erectile dysfunction is often reversible. And the most powerful medicine? 5. Erectile dysfunction is often reversible if you eat right. Here's the part that brings hope. I've worked with men in their 60s, 70s, even well into their 80s, who were convinced they were done. They thought their sexual decline was permanent. That surgery, or a lifetime of pills, was the only path forward. But they were wrong, because I've watched many of these same men reverse the damage. Not with injections, not with implants, but with real food. When you remove inflammatory foods, the sugars, seed oils, and ultra-processed junk that we discussed earlier, and begin fueling your body with what it actually needs, the change can be dramatic. Some of the most powerful natural blood flow boosters include leafy greens like spinach, arugula, and kale, rich in nitrates that boost nitric oxide; beets, which support vasodilation and help expand blood vessels; omega-3 rich fish, like salmon and sardines, to calm inflammation; extra virgin olive oil, which supports endothelial healing and elasticity; berries, loaded with flavonoids that improve circulation; pumpkin seeds, a potent source of zinc that helps support healthy testosterone levels. These aren't supplements, they're not trends. They're real foods that your vascular system recognizes and responds to. And the results? Within weeks, many men begin to experience the return of morning erections, improved stamina and energy throughout the day, a surprising lift in emotional confidence and self-worth, even better sleep, mood, and overall vitality. Why does it happen? Because the penis is essentially a vascular sponge. It thrives on clean, oxygen-rich blood. When circulation improves and inflammation drops, the tissue wakes up. The same way your brain feels sharper after a good meal, your erections respond to better fuel. And the best part? This doesn't just help you in the bedroom. It benefits your heart, brain, prostate, and mental clarity too. So before you resign yourself to being past your prime, ask this: have you actually given your body the fuel it needs to function? Because the right food doesn't just support erections, it restores them. And for the men who still don't believe that food can be that powerful, there's something I always tell them, especially before they go under the knife. 6. What I tell every patient before surgery. Before I take any man into the operating room, whether it's for a penile implant, graft, or vascular correction, I ask him one simple question: have you given your body a chance to heal with food first? More often than not, the answer is no. They've tried the pills. They've tried ignoring it. They've blamed stress, aging, or even themselves. Some have quietly accepted that their best days are behind them, but very few have ever tried the one thing that could actually change everything: healing their blood with food. I don't ask this question to delay surgery. I ask it because, time and again, I've seen it work. I've seen men scheduled for complex procedures completely cancel their operations because their function returned naturally, just from changing what was on their plate. That's not hype. That's biology. When you remove inflammatory foods and begin nourishing your body with clean, blood-building nutrition, circulation improves, inflammation drops, hormones stabilize, tissue begins to breathe again. And when blood starts flowing freely to the pelvic region, something amazing happens. The penis responds. You don't need a scalpel to tell your body to come back online. You need oxygen. You need nutrients. You need to support the very vascular system that powers everything from your brain to your erections. So here's the truth I wish every older man knew before ever setting foot in a surgical consultation. Before you let someone cut into your body, try feeding it correctly. Because for many, surgery isn't the solution. It's the backup plan. And if you give your body just a few days of intentional nourishment, you might be shocked by what starts to return. So what exactly does that look like? What would you need to eat and remove to experience results in as little as 5 days? 7. The 5-day reset that can change everything. If you've been listening and wondering whether any of this could actually work for you, don't overthink it. Just test it. Give your body 5 days. That's it. 5 days of eating intentionally, cutting out the foods that damage your blood flow and replacing them with those that restore it. Here's what that looks like. What to remove completely for 5 days. No processed or packaged food. No sugar or artificial sweeteners. No seed oils like soybean, corn, or canola. No artificial flavors, dyes, or preservatives. These are the silent saboteurs, what have been quietly inflaming your arteries, impairing nitric oxide, and dulling sensation over the years. Now, replace them with foods that actually feed your blood vessels and support sexual vitality. Fresh leafy greens, spinach, arugula, kale, packed with nitrates to boost circulation. Cold-pressed extra virgin olive oil supports endothelial repair. Salmon or sardines, rich in omega-3s to reduce inflammation. Blueberries, loaded with flavonoids that enhance blood vessel function. Raw nuts, especially walnuts and pumpkin seeds, contain arginine and zinc. Plenty of clean water. Hydration is critical to blood volume and energy. Herbal teas like hibiscus or green tea, both known to support blood pressure and vascular health. You don't need a fancy detox kit. You don't need a complicated supplement regimen. You just need to eat the foods your body recognizes and remove the ones silently working against you. And here's what happens in just 5 days for most men. Better, deeper sleep. The return of morning erections, often unexpectedly, fewer nighttime bathroom trips, clearer thinking, and sharper memory. And perhaps most importantly, a sense of confidence and control that many thought was long gone. This isn't theory. This is biology in action. It's real, it's repeatable, and it's something you can begin right now without a prescription, without permission, and without waiting for a doctor to bring it up. If you're willing to give your body just 5 days of the right fuel, it will start showing signs of revival, often faster than you think.